I'm Lisa Tiffany. I'm here today with my friend and fellow yoga teacher, Raina Dominguez. And we're here for part 2 of our series on the Vinyasa and breaking down our Vinyasa. We're talking today about plank and Chaturanga. Plank and Chaturanga are both huge strengtheners for the core. And Chaturanga, as we find the placement with the arms, the bend in the elbows, we're setting up, we're prepping for our arm balances every single time we take it. And Chaturanga is one of those poses that we take lots and lots of times in a Vinyasa class, and yet we don't really know what's going on exactly. And so if we're not doing it correctly, we're constantly putting our shoulders at risk, which is a really mobile joint. We want to make sure that we protect it. And so we'll start today with plank. Coming to plank first. And if you took our part 1 series on downward facing dog, the setup for the hands is exactly the same. So stay on your knees for just a sec. It's going to be wrists coming down from the shoulders, and then hands, wrists slightly wider than the shoulders are. So at the center of the wrist traces down from the outer edge of the shoulder. Her fingers are spread wide, and she's pressing at the base of the thumb. There goes Murray. The index finger and the pinky finger, all 10 of her fingerprints, and belly lifting in. So keeping that, she'll step the feet back. And as she finds her plank, feet are about hips width apart. Nice and long here, and arms are good, shoulders are strong, but then we have to think about the pelvis a little bit. So if the pelvis is too low, if we're actually in one long line, we're actually sinking in here, we're losing the abdominals. If we go too high, same thing, we're not really working here. And so we actually want the hips roughly in line with the shoulders, so it's going to be just a little bit higher, not quite one line. But now the tailbone's going to lengthen like crazy towards the heels, so tailbone lengthening. Ribs in. Belly lifting. This is a lot of work. So from here, from her plank, starting for step 1 of Chaturanga, she's going to first just start by rocking forward on the toes, shoulders go past the wrist, but her pelvis is going to stay in place and then bring it back. Taking that about 2 more times, rocking forward and bringing it back. If you watch the shoulders, it's shoulders past and then bringing it back. Good. Take the knees down to the mat, take the hips back to the heels, take a break. So it's really important at first to just work with that, and it's harder than it looks. The pelvis will want to drop, or the pelvis will want to stay very high. We want to keep it exactly where it is, toes still curled under, but just rocking forward. And that's a really nice way to just work with it. Just rock forward, rock back, rock forward, rock back. Take a video, have someone watch you, notice what's happening with the pelvis. Step 2 for Chaturanga. So step 1 was the rocking forward. Step 2 is going to be lowering down and thinking about the placement of the elbows. And so in a regular push-up, a lot of times we have the elbows wide, or sometimes with Chaturanga, we hear elbows in and we take them too far in, or if the hands are too close, we can't help it. And so we bring the elbows too far in, we're almost resting on them, or the heads of the shoulders roll way forward. So I'm actually going to have Raina flip to face towards you. I'm going to take her right to the center of the mat. She'll find her plank first. And again, that placement of the hands, wrist, center of the wrist coming down from the shoulders, it's actually going to give her space for her body to come down. So that's straight from her down dog. She comes forward to her plank, all the same placement of the hands. And now she rocks forward on the toes. Elbows are going to stay close to the body. She'll bring it all the way down. So elbows not too wide. Elbows not so close that they're hunched in under the body, but right in line with the shoulders so that there's space for her body to come down. So step 2. For step 3, and I'll have you come long ways on the mat again. For step 3, we're going to think about lowering down to in one piece as we bring it down to the belly. So she'll find her plank, making sure she's not locking in the elbows. Beautiful. Tailbone's lengthening. She'll rock forward on the toes, step 1. Elbows stay close, step 2. And best she can, she's lowering one piece down to the belly. Harder than it looks. And so 2 things often happen here if we can't quite get that lower one piece down. One is what I also often call the peel down. And so go ahead and come to plank. Rock forward, but let your hips collapse first. It's this like rolling through the spine coming down. No real abdominal anything happening here. It's kind of a collapse on down. The second thing that can happen is the hips stay too high. And usually when the hips stay too high, it means the heads of the shoulders are rolling way forward, which is dangerous for the shoulder girdle, for the joints. And so we want, again, that one piece coming down. Best you can, one piece coming down. If one piece coming down on the toes is too much, here's an option for you. Come on up to plank. And then take the knees directly down into the mat. So knees are still behind the hips. It's not a tabletop position. But now as she lowers down, she's bending the elbows, she's coming down one piece best she can. This is a really nice place to start. So if coming down one piece on the toes is just a struggle, start with the knees down, lower one piece. When that feels strong, then bring it up to the toes. So step one of our chaturanga was rocking forward on the toes. Step two was keeping the elbows close to the body, not too close, definitely not sticking out. Step three was lowering down one piece best we can, maybe taking the knees down to start. Step four will be talking about heads of the shoulders. Tendency, if you don't think about it, will be shoulders rolling forward. And so we're going to think about heads of the shoulders right here, rolling open. So Raina's going to come back up to plank. Let the hips lift just a little higher. She'll rock forward on the toes. She'll bend the elbows, elbows stay close. And now heads of the shoulders are rolling open, 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 open as she lowers down. Good. Can we take that one more time? Bring the gaze down just a little bit as you come down. It's a tricky one, and when you're ready, it's a tricky one that when we think about heads of the shoulders rolling open, a lot of times what happens is we lose the tailbone, we lose the pelvis, and so the low back gets kind of loose and the tailbone sticks out. And so we've got to think like crazy, tailbone drawing towards the heels, down while I'm kneeling like this, but when we're not plank, towards the heels, and then belly lifting and ribs staying in as the heads of the shoulders roll open. It's an intelligent movement. So she'll come back to plank. Good, so gaze just kind of steady. She'll rock forward on the toes. Heads of the shoulders, yeah. Roll open, 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 open as she comes down. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Good, take a break, take a rest. This is so much work for her. Last little piece of this, and you can continue coming down to the belly for a very long time. That's a fine place to stay for a while. If you're lowering halfway, oftentimes we go too low. And so we lower down, if you imagine me being in a chaturanga, we lower down so that we're hovering like an inch off of the floor. We seem to think for some reason lower is better, it's harder. And what's actually happening is that we come too low and we're hovering. Almost always heads of the shoulders are rolling forward. It's very hard to get that roll open. We're again putting the shoulders at risk. So we're only coming down, we want to come down until the upper arm is roughly parallel with the torso. And if you remember, heads of the shoulders are rolling open, so it might even look like you're slightly less than parallel. It's not that you are, it's the placement of the shoulder head. And so as you come down, there's almost this little bit of buoyancy as you come down. You're not locked into place, you're not strong-arming into place. You're coming down and there is a lightness to it, believe it or not. So we're gonna come one more time back up to plank. Maybe two more times, we'll see. At least one more time, sorry, it's a step on you. All the pieces apply. She's going to rock forward on her toes. Tailbone's reaching. She'll lower. Elbows stay close, but she's going to hover, pause for just a breath, and then bring it down to the belly. Gorgeous. So lots to work with there. Feel free to play with it in stages. Add in that rock forward, rock back first. And then from there, playing with lowering one piece with the elbows staying close. And then adding in the heads of the shoulders rolling open. And then maybe playing, and that feels strong, with lowering just halfway. Good. Come on up. So it's part 2 of our series, Chaturanga. It's part of our Vinyasa and plank today. You can always find information about me, where I'm teaching, what I'm doing, at lisatiffany.com. You can follow me at Instagram at LisaRTiffany. And Raina, you can follow on Instagram at SlimYogini. And website coming very soon, which I'll have information about as well. Thanks so much.